you so much. Good evening. What a performance that we just witnessed. What a topic that is so ripe for discussion. I won't be before you long. I want to thank you for giving me a few moments and sticking around. My name is Chris Flowers. I'm an attorney at the law firm of Godfrey and Kahn. I split my time between the Milwaukee and the DC offices. I'm not from Milwaukee, so full disclosure, from upstate New York. I've been living here for 7 going on 8 years. And what I learned very quickly and what struck me when I first moved here was just how similar upstate New York is to Milwaukee. There's so much more that we have in common than that is different. And I learned that very quickly, and for that reason, when I moved here, it was very easy for me to get involved. It was very easy for me to dive into the community. So tonight, as I'm watching the play, the term and the phrase that keeps sort of resonating with me is descriptions. Descriptions. And I think, the character Reuben put it as appearances. And the descriptions that we use to describe people that don't look like us and don't have similar backgrounds as us, but comprise the same communities and the same environments that we navigate can be very, very powerful and have very, very powerful effects on the individuals that we're casting these descriptions on. And makes me think about the descriptions that I use and the narratives that I use. I also thought during the opening montage how not too long ago I fit the description of the assailant that was provided by that dispatcher. 10, 15 years ago, I wore white t-shirts and baggy jeans as any other teenager, my age and my generation did. And I can only imagine, or I fear to imagine, sort of what would have happened had, my description sort of ended at that point. The character that I sort of connected to the most was Paul, the 17-year-old student. And growing up, I had many very, similarities to Paul. It was like him in many regards. Not an artist or, an art buff like he was, but very much a student that was a product of my environment, but saw light at the end of the tunnel. And one thing that was very similar and had me thinking was an interaction that I had when I was probably around the same age. And I was a junior in college, and I was walking from my apartment to the university. I was attending Howard University at the time in Washington, D.C. And my apartment was probably a half mile from campus. And as I'm walking toward campus, a car cut me off. And I quickly realized, that the car was Metro Police, and the lights were going. And within a matter of seconds, an officer had jumped out and, told me to freeze, don't move. And before I knew it, I was against a wall, and I was being frisked, and the backpack that I had was dumped out, and my books had fallen out or whatever notes that I had. And the officer questioned me and asked me what I was doing in that neighborhood and who I knew and where I was coming from. And I'm telling the officer, I live here, I'm a student. And I was told at that time that I fit the description of someone who was breaking and entering into cars and stealing them in the neighborhood. And so like that character, Paul, sort of in a snide way, I tell the officer, well, obviously the things that you've emptied out of my bags aren't, tools to break into cars, and I'm not the assailant, obviously. But that experience is not unique to me, not singular. I have many friends who have similar experiences, but those types of experiences can be very traumatic and can have long-standing, long-lasting effects that, you don't think of until you see a play like this and you think, wow, I haven't thought about that memory in years. And I haven't thought about how that has affected me. I'll close with saying that after seeing the play and living here for the number of years that I have, I'm very hopeful that the types of stories that we just witnessed become sort of far and few between. And the reason why is because, I'm very aware of the fact that descriptions change and that we have the power to change descriptions. And, your description of me tonight is very different than it would have been 10 years ago or 15 years ago. And that's a positive thing. And we do that by having conversations like we're having tonight, by talking in safe places about these issues before they become the intense interaction where split-second decisions have to be made. With that, I'll encourage everyone to participate in the Act 2 dialogues right outside, and thank you again for your time. Thank you.